Hallelujah, Jesus. I'm kind of on a high from this morning because we had a time at 7:45 in the morning, which I'm not usually up that early, but when I tell you we had a time together today, and I thank God, but as I said, God, I ask you to rain a fresh anointing. And I shared this morning that in preparation for this sermon, I sent Pastor Cedric an email, a message, and I asked if there was a series that was going on. I asked, is there a specific theme that you had in mind? And he sent me a lectionary for the week. And then in that lectionary, of course, there's a lot of scriptures, and he said, simply, the series is, we belong to Christ. And you go where God leads. That's what's important. And so, as I shared, of course, the academic that I am and the scholar that I strive to be, I immediately started to wreck my brain because I wanted to come up with this theologically sound message, and I wanted to be able to translate the Hebrew and the Greek and really dive into my seminary training. And so I started to study the story of David, and then I hopped over to the story of Hannah, then I went to Psalms 23, and then I started to look into the woman with the issue of blood, and then after that, I looked into the parable about the paralytic that they lowered down through the roof in Capernaum, and I was seeking God. Lord, I'm tapping into all of my tools and my theological training, and I can't find anything. So then I just stopped. I stopped myself in that moment. Because the next thing that God did was send me to Ephesians. And I got nothing. And so then I went to just study about the church in Ephesus. And there was something very peculiar about the church in Ephesus. Because this epistle was unlike any other. It was an epistle that was unparalleled to any other. Why? Because Paul had preached at the church in Ephesus, so they were very studied. They knew the Word of God. They were very theologically sound, similar to how we did when the young man came up to read the scripture. They were able to quote the Torah and the scripture together by memory. So when Paul wrote this letter, there was very little theological training that Paul had to do. So he wrote the letter to encourage the people. Mind you, he was encouraging the people as his arms were locked in chains and his life was on the line to be executed. But yet, he wrote this letter to encourage the people. So I then stopped myself. And I went back to the lectionary. And at the top of the lectionary, it was this message here with a demonstration. So then I put the two things together, what Pastor Cedric sent me and this message. We belong to Christ, and you go where God leads you. With a demonstration. And at the bottom of all of this, I come to one simple statement, one declaration, one thought, one thing that has massive implications. And I've been sent to you today to encourage you how Paul encouraged the church in Ephesus. And for some, this might be to admonish you to trust God. Trust God. Two simple words that come with such difficulty at times. Trust God. And then I was taken to Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, and this is the NIV, the UK version. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. And what I usually like to do is see a couple of different translations. So then I went to the Message Bible, which is a very loosely translated version of this text. And it says, trust God from the bottom of your heart. From the very core of your being, trust God. From the essence of who you are, trust God. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. Listen for God's voice in everything you do. Everywhere you go. He's the one who will keep you on track. Because we belong to Christ, we go where God leads us. And this is all revealed with a demonstration. So now I said, I want to look at this thing piece by piece, starting with we belong to Christ. Another simple statement. We belong to Christ. But when we say this statement, there are variables that are prerequisites. There are things that this statement depends upon in order for it to be true. It's like, and I was sharing earlier, I'm very mathematical. I like for a squared plus b squared to equal c squared. And so even in this message, I'm trusting God to give me the words that I'm supposed to share this morning to encourage the people. But as we say we belong to Christ, it's saying we are the property of Christ. We are a member of Christ, of Christhood. We are a part. And in order to be a part of something and say that you belong to something, you must trust. You have to trust. Then you must surrender. So you trust and you surrender. And in saying that you belong to Christ, with your trust partnered with your surrender, what it does is then it reconstructs your identity to then be formulated so that then you are formulated to be that of the image of Christ. So then not only do you belong to Christ, but you become a very reflection of that which Christ is. And so when I was studying this notion of belonging, one thing that was interesting to me is belonging and relationship in the Bible is heavily the metaphor of a wedding, of marriage. And how customary is it for this to be Valentine's Day week and for us to have an anniversary that we're celebrating. But see, the thing is that looking at marriage in the context of this time. So we know in the Bible there's many references where it says Christ, God, Jesus is the bridegroom. And we, the church, are the bride. Now the very interesting thing when you study marriage of this time and in Judaism is that the period that we call engagement, erusin, this is when the father of the bride approached the groom because they had come and said that they were interested in one another and they wanted to. So then the father of the bride would approach the groom and along with the family, and they would formulate a contract on behalf of the bride. A ketubah. And once they went into contract, in the engagement phase, it was as though they were married. Unlike our engagements today. You get tired of somebody today and I'm taking off this ring, I'm done. But when you sign that ketubah, to break that as it was to get a full-fledged divorce. And the thing about a ketubah is that the father negotiated on behalf of the daughter with the groom. So this ketubah was in the best interest of the bride. The ketubah was the stipulations, if you would say. The ketubah was the rules and the regulations of how this groom was supposed to deal and handle with this bride, along with the mohai, the dowry. What was the cost? Mind you, the bride was never part of this conversation. At this time, she was actually staying in the groom's family's house, learning his ways, learning his habits, learning the things that, his nervous tics and the things, learning everything about him. So this ketubah and this contract was happening between the father and the bridegroom, and she had to trust in her father to know and love her so much that everything that was negotiated in this contract was for her good and would benefit her. Amen. When they came to sign it. Amen. And so this dowry, the interesting thing about it, this dowry was, of course, the father knew the worth of his daughter. So he would negotiate a price based off of a few things. One, the daughter's contribution to the household that they would now be missing. Because once you signed that ketubah and that marriage happened, she no longer belonged to her father's household. She belonged to her husband's household. So it was a negotiation of sorts of what will we be missing when she leaves? What are the financial things that we'll need? And so in this contract, you would think that he would be looking out for the best interest of his family. And the reason why the daughter trusted so much in this contract is because what ended up happening was the dowry of this contract went straight back to the bride. And so our notion of understanding we belong to Christ in this context comes with the necessity of us being able to trust that God, when we say we belong to God, He has negotiated on our behalf. He has looked at our value. He has seen our worth. And He has signed a contract with this, which is His word that says, I will supply all your needs according to my riches and my glory. And the ketubah that I have for you is so that you know that no matter what it is that you're going through, you can trust God. We belong to Christ. We're in a contract with Christ. We are the bride of Christ. So our trust then has a surrender. And when we think of surrender, it's as though you just put your hands up. This is one of the most vulnerable positions. That's why when somebody is a robber or something, hands up. So you trust God. You turn over everything. And in the trust and the surrender, then God then takes you and formulates you or switches you around like a chemical formula. And then you all of a sudden become a reflection of God, God's self. And that's when we hear we are made in the image of God because we belong to Christ. And the next thing, you go where God leads. You go where God leads. So the thing about this marriage, once the ketubah was signed, they were officially engaged. The bride and the groom did not see each other until the wedding day. Because the groom went off to find a house. The groom went off and met at the altar. And in these weddings, when they met at the altar, they came up under what they called a chuppah. A chuppah. 4 wooden poles, and above it is a canopy. And they reread the contract the ketubah allowed in front of everybody. So everybody then knew what the terms and the stipulations of their marriage were. And everybody celebrated in those terms and stipulations. But this ketubah that they were under was very symbolic. It was symbolic of the house and the home that the bride or the groom had already prepared. When the bride walked under this ketubah, with this chuppah, she knew that her husband-to-be already worked it all out. She knew that she had a house to go to. She knew that she had a dowry that was coming back to her to make sure that she was always okay. So she could honestly say, I trust you, Daddy, because you worked out this contract. I trust you, husband, because you paid the dowry and you worked out the contract. And us coming together and me following you is already following in some footsteps that have already been mapped out and marched out for me. And I'm just walking the path that's already paved. So I can honestly say, as I step under the chuppah, I am taken care of and I will go where you lead. We belong to Christ. We trust God. We surrender to God. Our identity aligns with Christ. And God has already prepared the way. Because in our ketubah with Christ, it says, I will supply all of your needs. In our ketubah with Christ, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And lean out on your own understandings. In all your ways, submit to me. I will make your path straight. This is God's contract with us, for us to know that where God leads and God guides, God provides. So no matter if the money looks funny and the finances are looking crazy and the medical report doesn't come back the way you wanted, you can trust God to know that God's word does not return null and void. That what God has spoken over your life is so you can throw your hands up and say, I trust God. I trust God. Now the interesting thing about the prerequisite of you go, I go where you lead, is that there's something that we have to do that usually is very difficult in our contemporary time. I remember when I was at UC Berkeley, I was an integrative biology major, and I had to get into the school first, just generally. I had to take a bunch of prerequisite classes, then I had to apply to the major to get into the major. Just to say that I'm an integrative biology major, and this is after I had worked so hard in high school just to get into the school. The prerequisites were hard. Yes. Now, going where God leads has one of the toughest prerequisites of all. Obey. How will you go where someone is leading if you're not obeying the commands and the rules and the guidelines in which they've given you for your life? So when God says step left, you go left. When God says step right, you go right. So when God moves, you move just like that. Obey. And this is very difficult because sometimes where God leads looks like a wilderness. what God does, they find themselves in the wilderness. How long do we have to go through this? And God still says, obey. I think of the story of Hosea and Gomer. In the book of Hosea, God sent him a wife. He sent him a wife named Gomer. But Gomer's allegiance was to every person in the town. She was a prostitute. So if I was Hosea, and I was sent into a relationship with someone who had no loyalty to me at all, but had loyalty to everyone else, I would say, God, you led me here. Why? Obey. Obey. And so with this, where God is leading, the prerequisite to that is obey. And the last part of this says, with the demonstration. This requires an action that you take. This is you being a living example of the trust in God that we proclaim. This is us saying, Lord, because I trust in you. God, because I believe in you. God, because I'm obeying you. I'm going to actively demonstrate my faith and my trust in you by doing X, Y, Z. So then I go back and I look at the story of David. And David's life, it was completely in turmoil his whole life. It was from war to a child that wanted to kill him. And then after that, he went back to war. His entire life was in turmoil. And this is the man after God's own heart. And his demonstration, we see in Psalm says, he had to stop and throw his head back, and yes, that's a loose translation, and say, I will trust in the Lord at all times. And his praises shall continually be in my mouth. In spite of what it looks like, I'll trust you, God. I'll trust you, God. And then I look at Hannah, who was barren, and she wanted to have a baby. And she was praying and praying and praying for years. And then she had to actively say, I trust you, God, for a child. And then all of a sudden, I move a little forward to Psalm 23, and it said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And then I say, I trust you, God. And then I go a little bit forward, and some of our demonstration, it will parallel the demonstration of the woman with the issue of blood. And it will be that relentless faith and trust that says, I will not let anything get in my way of the blessings that God has for me. So once she had to push her way through the crowd, she had to step over some people. She had to knock some people down because she said, if I can only touch the hem of God's garment, the 12 years that I've been struggling with this issue of blood will be healed. So my demonstration of faith is me stepping over, knocking over, if I can just touch God's hem. Trust God. And then some people's demonstration of faith is what I call, you just don't have to have that hood trust. That good old ghetto trust. It's in the Bible, it's scripture. I told you about the two people that lowered a paralytic man through the roof at Capernaum. Let's paint the picture. Jesus is in the house heaven. It's packed. They can't get in the club. It's packed on the outside. It's packed on the inside. It's packed around back because it's popping on the inside. So they said, you know what? The roof is on fire. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to hop on that roof. I'm going to take out the bricks. I'm going to take out the stone. belonging to Christ. We go where God leads. And going where God leads requires an action and a demonstration of us. So my question for you today is, what is your demonstration? What is your demonstration? You know the things that are going on in your life that nobody else knows. You know the trials and the tribulations, the successes, the failures, the mountains, the valleys, the love, the heartbreak. You know all of the things that are going on in your life, and amidst all of that, God is saying, trust me. Trust me. And then I took a look at Jeremiah 17, and God gave us an example of a visual of what trusting in God kind of looks like. And those who trust in the Lord, and whose trust is the Lord, and I want to stop right there because they sound like the same thing. But when you look at those two things literally, it actually has two separate meanings. So sometimes we need to trust in God. And we have a place, and we're in a place where we can trust in God. We look at our situations and our circumstances. We look at the pros and the cons. We're able to navigate the decisions, and we're able to say, I face the struggle or a situation, and I choose to trust you. Amen. But then there's that trust God. That trust God, which changes up the context a little bit. And we see this trust God in this David type of demonstration. Saying trust God, it's a command. It is a statement. It is affirmative. It is like a period at the end of a sentence. It's like saying, I don't worry about my finances because I trust God. I don't worry about my doctor's report because I trust God. I don't worry about my children and everybody else acting crazy because I trust God. So one is an active choice. But then other times you just have to say, God, it don't look like what it's supposed to look like, so I trust you anyway, and I trust you anyway. God, this isn't happening the way I thought it was going to happen. I trust you anyway. God, I'm experiencing the heartbreak in the relationship that you brought me to, but I trust you anyway. God, my children are all over the place, and every time I try to talk to them, they just want to smack their lips and run away. God, I trust you anyway. Trust God. Trust God. But in Jeremiah, those who trust God, the picture is so beautifully painted. They shall be like a tree planted by the water, sending out its roots by the stream. It shall not fear when heat comes, and its leaves shall stay green. In the year of drought, it is not anxious, and it does not cease to bear fruit. Now, the interesting thing about this picture is it's a tree that's planted, and the waters are rushing back and forth and back and forth. But it's so rooted that even the velocity of the water can't knock it down. It's so rooted, even the speed and the intensity of everything around it can't knock it down. And even more so, the very water that we think is going to knock it down is the thing that is feeding its roots and causing the tree to grow. So if you are trusting in God, you're like a tree that is planted in some waters that are brushing you to the left, brushing you to the right, trying to push you forward, trying to push you back. But it's that same water that is feeding your roots so that you can grow. It shall not fear when the heat comes. We all know. See, I had a great grandmother who did gardening. And there was two things that were needed: water and sunlight. Water and sunlight. It shall not fear when the heat comes. That tells me that there's a presupposition that in life, we are going to experience some heat. Things are not going to always be peaches and cream. As they say, things are not going to be hunky-dory all the time. But when the heat comes, you do not have to fear. One, because our contract in our ketubah said, God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of love and of power and of a sound mind. But also, because our faith and our trust in God says that the waters have planted us, so that when the heat comes, we shall not be moved, and that we shall continually to grow fruit, and the fruit of our lives will perpetually be seen. And the interesting thing is, it specifically uses its leaves shall stay green. And then I went back to the lectionary, and it was very interesting because the color of this week is green. It's green. So then I started to research the significance of the color green as it relates to trusting God. Green represents healing. Physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically. Healing, healing, healing. And I realized that sometimes what keeps me from trusting God is that I'm broken. The place that you led me to, God, broke me down. The place that you told me to go, or the relationship that you led me to, cracked me up. And I find myself needing healing so that I can trust again. I find myself needing healing so that where God goes, I can go. I find myself needing healing so that I can have the energy to demonstrate my act of faith and be put into action around the things that God has called for me. So, what is your demonstration? And what needs to be healed? What is your demonstration and what needs to be healed? Because when we look at the stories, the parables of God, there's this perpetual cycle of everyone that God uses going through some hard stuff. But God never left them or forsake them. God was always right there. And the stories ended in the victory as long as they were able to stay the course. So I encourage you today, trust in God. And when it gets too difficult and too hard, trust God. When you don't understand what's going on, trust God. When it seems like your mind is starting to fail you, trust God. When it seems like your money is funny and your change is strange, trust God. When it seems like nothing is panning out the way that you want it to pan out, trust God. It's a statement, a declaration. It comes at a time where you might not be able to actively choose to trust in God. So all you can do is affirm that you will trust God. And so today, as I close out, as we reflected on where God, we belong to God, we'll go where God leads with an active demonstration. Some people might need to experience some healing. I shared earlier in the earlier service, 3 weeks ago I experienced a heartbreak that had me literally wanting to leave this earth. I doubted my significance. I doubted my purpose. It made me question everything that God had called me to. And I said, God, if I have to go through this again, I would prefer to just check up out of here. And then all of a sudden, as I shared, I put on James' Fortune, I trust you. And then I started listening to the lyrics. And I started to hear them sing the song over, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you. It may not seem what it may not seem how I thought it was going to be, but I trust not turn out how I thought it was going to turn out, but I trust you. I trust you. And so wherever you are right now, wherever you are, trust God. At the ceremony tonight, or today, they said they were going to do a renewal of vows. The beautiful thing about the marriages, yes, they were giving vows to each other, but that trust was really the vows that they gave to God. They just demonstrated it to the person. Trust God. If there's something that has hurt you, someone, a job, whatever it is, this is the time where I want us to collectively support each other in trusting God. So whether this is your first time ever saying, I want to commit my life to Christ, or whether this is just you saying, life has thrown me some blows that I didn't expect, and I need the healing of God to rest, reign, rule, and abide in my life so I can have the ability to trust God again. Or whether it's even on the offensive. Before the trials even come, I'm going to stand up and tell God that I trust you. Because in the passage it says, when the heat comes, so you know it's eventually going to come. So what you do is you store up that bank account of trust. You store up that savings account of praise. You store up that savings